What is going on, YouTube? Pass the prop back here again. NFL edition, week 12. We got a full game slate here for Sunday. We're here to break it down, recap, and get you rolling ready for this week. So join as always by my guy Stu. How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. Can't complain. I mean, I think we're arguably coming off the most entertaining game of the season last night. Not only because we won our bets, but that's just everything you think about when you think about like a perfect Thursday night football game. We got the snow, we got the conditions, but it didn't stop them. They kept slinging the ball. It was a highly entertaining game. We got some random tight ends dropping like 40-yard catches out of nowhere. Like the whole thing was just like a shit show from start to finish. And I mean, as someone that watches every single NBA game, or not NBA, NFL game over the last, 4 or 5 years, like you want the different stuff. You want the exciting, you want the snow games. And that's exactly what we got. So I had so much fun yesterday. It didn't hurt that we won our bets. Obviously that was the icing on the cake, but really enjoyed that one.
Yeah, no, I saw a lot of people I got a lot of messages like, oh, should I cash out? Fuck. No, bro. Fuck no. And that's the thing is they probably threw more in the snow than they did when it was nice. They didn't give a fuck. And I love that, dude. Shout out to Stefanski. I don't even give a shout out to Quick Arthur Smith. Like they didn't even run the ball that much in the snow. That was impressive. I love to see that. And you could tell that all of those backers were coming up just ready to go full on. That's what you want, right? Just go full head of steam. They're running the ball. And then they started using play action. It was awesome. Even Russ played pretty well for the conditions. And the Browns just looked like they kind of had a little bit of chip on their shoulder on that one.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you pointed it out, though. It's funny, the first half, right, because I was live betting the hell out of this game. Like, I was ready to go. After the first drive, I played Jameis Winston over 175.5 passing yards. It came way down. There was, like, no snow at all. And it's still, they barely passed the ball in the first half. The first half was so slow. Then you start getting in the third quarter. You see it going down like crazy. I'm starting to panic. I'm like, oh, well, I doubled down and the weather's now getting worse. And it's exactly what you said. As the weather got worse, I think both teams realized these defensive backs can't do anything out there. They really can't. With these conditions, with the snow, let's just give our guys a shot. Let's just throw these 20-yard, 50-50 balls. I think both teams also realized that you could just push off. Like the referees were not calling that at all. I saw pretty much every tight end on both teams push off, like full arm extension before every play, and they never really called it. So it was a shit show, but it was a good time.
Yeah, no, dude, I was happy that they kept passing it. Obviously, we were texting, or at least, I think I was just texting you because I was like, bro, what are we going to need here? And then obviously everything kind of came the way it needed to. A short field off of a fumble from Jameis. I started Jameis in a league this week because I had to. I'm in a 12-team league. Josh Allen's my quarterback, and he got sat, obviously, with the bye week. So I have to kind of figure this out. And Jameis had to find his way into the lineup, and got me like 11, like nothing great, nothing crazy, but pretty cool to get his first rushing touchdown in like 4 years. Dude is just a baller, man. And we might as well just talk about it here as we cash another collab. I think we're 2-1 on these. Only one that lost was Saquon winning by 55 points and couldn't play. So yeah, it's unfortunate, but yeah, we cash it.
Yeah, no, it was fun. And like you said, down to the last second, obviously, it was not sweat-free. This one, we had to sit there. We had to watch the whole thing. But, yeah, Jameis got the job done. That fumble on one of those last drives, that's when I started, you were texting me. That's when I stopped responding. I'm like, I'm spazzing out right now. I don't need to text anybody. It's just going to be angry bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want the responses that I'm going to give right there. So, had to just chill out, let the game play. Like you said, Russ probably not going to get anywhere near enough credit he deserves. Russ played a good game. Like
fantastic game, bro.
Mistakes here and there, but in the
so many fucking hits.
Yeah,
just kept his head in there, and he's like, "That's what you want, dude." That's why I said, like, no one's really giving Pittsburgh credit. Like, but you can give this team any type of game, and I think Pittsburgh can compete with you, right? I don't see Pittsburgh as a team that's losing by more than 7 points to anybody because they're just like, if you want a shootout, Russ can throw the deep ball. We even saw him throw like 5 or 6 deep balls in pouring snow.
Yep.
And had no issue with it, right? I mean, that defense is obviously very good, but, when a team's got it and you got those short fields, that punter should get cut, bro. Like, what the fuck are you doing, bro? 10 yards? Can't kick it more than 10 yards. I'm like, dude, is this really are we gonna lose a bet by this dude who can't kick a fucking ball more than 10 feet? And it was luckily we cashed it. But like I said it. He didn't get quite to 250, but I take Jameis in a fucking hurricane. That man's gonna throw that ball and he's gonna sling it. So I saw a lot of people on under yards, under attempts, under all. Dude, it's Jameis, bro. Like that dude, he is just so fun to watch, man. And shout out Nick Chubb. Obviously, I'm a huge Nick Chubb fan. I have him a lot of best ball. And it was fun. So got a nice little 2 touchdowns there. And it was good. So it moves us in the NFL to let's get that up. I have it somewhere on here. The number. There we go. 42 and 32. The 42 and 30 at 12.6 units. I know we did have one other long shot in there for you. And I believe he had a few, didn't he?
He had 1 catch on the first drive. So I'm like, this is going to be awesome. And then nothing after that. So 8 yards in the first drive, nothing after that. Unfortunate, didn't quite get the game script. I had his under 20.5 rush yards, which was like the worst sweat of the game. He got like a couple carries in the last drive. He ended right on 20, so did cash the under for anyone in the 4-for-4 group that was on that. But Jerome Ford gives me a heart attack, man. I do not like betting on this guy, whether under or over, no matter what it is. So, I like the number. It ended up at like 300 by game time. People were smashing it. So missed on the long shot here, but hey, not going to let that stop us. Great night still.
Yeah, no, I love to see it. Obviously happy for you on that one, but let's start talking about this week. We got good slate. We'll talk dogs in a second. I got to get your thing here. How do we just like allow this shit of mediocrity in the NFL? Like, how are the Giants still allowed to have a fucking team? Like, you got to get rid of these motherfuckers, man. Like, that ownership needs to leave. Like, you have to just like kick them. Like, look at like soccer, bro. If they did this year after year, these boys would be in like League 6, bro, by this point. Like, how do you fuck over Daniel Jones? Like, I'm not even a huge Daniel Jones fan. But, like, what they did to him is just criminal, bro. Like, that's just criminal. Like, I hope I saw someone tweet, I hope he goes to the Cowboys and beats them on fucking Facebook. That would be the greatest thing of all time. But, obviously, I don't expect that to happen after you just traded for Trey Lance and all of that. And Cooper Rush hasn't looked terrible. But, yeah, dude, I just want to get your take on that as a guy out there on the East Coast, NFC East guy. Any thoughts on that? Or just, like, how this is just such a poverty franchise?
No, it's great to see. It's great to enjoy. We at DC, we've been a little embarrassing at times. We've had our fair share of controversy. So to have these guys in New York kind of take the spotlight, they're the ones that fuck up. And now it's actually a competition between the Jets and the Giants. Who can fuck up worse? I say the Jets see this. Cut Aaron Rodgers today. Send them both out there. Have a little party, an unemployment party out in New York. But I will say, to me, it does look, isn't cutting him doing him a favor, right? Didn't he ask to be cut? I believe that's what I saw out there. Because for Giants fans, I think that cost you guys an extra $47 million that you didn't need to take in dead cap. Like, if you just waited till the end of the year and he passed a physical, you could save all that money. So not only did they fuck up the season by paying him all that money, but then to be nice, I guess, to do him a favor, now they eat like $50 million in dead cap for literally no reason. So shout out to the Giants. Keep digging that hole deeper. We're not going to see these guys in contention very soon. Hey, Malik Neighbors, time to request a trade, buddy. We can already see the body language. You don't want to be there. It's not too early. Tell your agent, get me the fuck out of here. Let's just get everyone out of there. So, no, I was enjoying it very much so. And I'm glad you brought this game up because I was going to bring it up when we talk dogs. The Buccaneers, I mean, there's some good dogs this week, whatever. Buccaneers are my biggest bet of the season so far against the spread at -5. I played it again at -6 yesterday. As long as it's still 6 or like anything better than 7, it's still 6. So I would play that there. I love the Bucs this week. I mean, people love the new coach narrative. They're going to turn it around, blah, blah, blah. DeVito is truly awful. Like, he is truly, truly awful. And you don't get that many opportunities to fade truly awful teams that much. And I think this team, I mean, I see nothing in them. I truly see nothing in the Giants. Their pass rush is the only good thing they got going. Baker Mayfield will dink and dunk all day long. That's like the one thing he's good against. Under pressure, Baker Mayfield is fantastic at getting the ball out quickly. They have Mike Evans. They're well rested. I love the Bucs this week. I think they just go to town. And the Bucs, this doesn't happen that often. When they're up, they don't stop throwing. they go at you. Like, they're an aggressive team with the lead as well. So I love the Bucks this week. Figured I'd throw that in there after you brought it up.
Yeah, no, I just had to talk about it. Yeah, I can't imagine anybody betting on the Giants. The only reason I also brought that up too is I just saw Thomas, our guy in here, talking about Tyrone Tracy. Any thoughts on that? I feel like that's like the strength of this defense is that front for the Bucks. Like, you can chuck it on these guys, right? I'm playing the Buccaneers defense, and that defense is atrocious. I'm playing them this week. I'm playing the fucking Washington Commanders defense this week with all my teams on bye. Them facing off against the Cowboys as a 10.5-point favorite. Jesus Christ. Like, there's some big boy spreads here, a lot of close ones, but any thoughts on Tracy? I feel like I'd rather just take receiving guys in this game, but I don't want to trust DeVito. So, like, I just don't want to bet on any Giant at all. Like, there's so many better spots.
And I went back through all DeVito's games from last year trying to see, different quarterbacks have different tendencies on what kind of positions they locked into. To me, DeVito looks like a tight end guy. Daniel Bellinger had 3 catches in like every single game. There was no wide receiver success. There was no wide receiver as good as Malik Neighbors either. So to me, that they ran it a bunch with Saquon, obviously. I wouldn't be shocked if they did it with Tracy. I'm a big fan of Tracy. I think he's really good. I like the talent there. But like you said, I just have no interest here. That's kind of the strength of the Bucs defense. And it's one of those things that they're probably going to be forced to throw a little bit more if I'm correct in this game in the Buccaneers. So I will say, I am seeing some smart people on the Giants. It's not just fully one-sided. There is some fairly even action on this one. I've even seen people call the Buccaneers kind of the square side. But I remember, my earlier biggest bet of the season was the Steelers as 3-point favorites against the Broncos. Everyone called that square as well, and I was laughing all the way to the bank. So I love the Bucs this week. I'm no interest in Tracy. I'm a big fan as a player, but I'm just so many teams to bet this week. I really don't like a running back in a game that I think they're going to get their asses kicked in.
Well, that, and I remember your other biggest bet was Houston, right, against the Cowboys, and everybody's like, oh, that's square at 7, so and then they just bludgeon the Cowboys.
But that one scared me enough where I didn't go insane on it. That was a good bet.
But like, I feel like in terms of confidence, that was one of the ones that kind of just seemed like it came out for you there. Mm-hmm. So, but I'll take the Bucs for you as like your favorite one. I'll take a dog just because there's not many games this week with how many guys. Fuck, dude. I think I love a lot of these games, but I remember we always say 3 points, right? It's got to be like a 3-point one, and there's a lot of them sub 3 points this week. So there's probably only like 4 or 5 options on this week. I think if I had to pick a side of any of them there, I'd probably just go the Bears. They're 4 points. I can't take like the Packers are 3-point favorites. Then you look down the line and it's like 3-point favorite. Or 2.5 for the Rams, 1 for the Seahawks, right? And then you go down even more and you'll see a couple other 3s in those other big games. So, and then there's like an 11, right? So as much as I would love to play the Panthers and take another 10, I almost did. I almost took the Panthers as plus 11 against the Chiefs this week. But if Pacheco's coming back, I think he's just good. I could just see this getting out of hand very quickly and not being able to score. But I think if I had to pick one, it's the Bears at home. After that shit, I think they can mucky this game up, man. It's a 39 point total. And again, as a guy living around the area, I'm about an hour and a half from Chicago. I know this weekend is supposed to be pretty damn cold. It's probably be like mid 40s. And guess what? Sam Darnold, that boy playing out in Cali, bro. He's playing in a dome. He ain't ready for that shit, bro. It's gonna be freaking awful. Absolutely awful. And it's not like awful like the snow. Like, you can play in the snow as long as it's not super windy. And that's what we saw last night. When it's windy and it's cold, it sucks. Like, it sucks. So I could definitely see this game being like a field goal game and being able to cash that at +4. I would take the Bears. As tough as that is to say. Yeah.
No, I mean, I was with the Bears last week with the new coaching stuff. I kind of felt the same way. The only worry is obviously Vikings, like, they now have all that on tape. So Caleb Williams running 9 times and throwing 80 million checkdowns isn't going to be a surprise. Like, that was a surprise last week, but now it's not, But I agree. I think Sam Darnold does enough stupid things. Like, he's
short fields.
Yeah, like a dumb interception every single game. The Bears defense is good. That's like the strength of the team, obviously. So I agree. I think for me, it would have been a Niners week, But with all this news, I really can't. I mean, I don't even think Purdy's going to play. There's kind of conflicting news. You got to, see who you trust this week, I guess. But man, like Bosa as well, Kittle, like there's too many question marks for me to actually hit that, bet except on the Niners. So I had to stay away from that. That was my original plan. Like, when I looked at the slate on Monday, and I thought you were going to pick the Panthers, which was already pissing me off.
All right, yeah, they were second.
I'm glad you did. I'm glad you did because I think they might lose by like 30 points. Because people are giving them credit for like being awful. Like they've just been awful.
The Chiefs didn't lose last week. I probably would have taken it if they would have won like a 3-point game against the Bills. Hey, we're undefeated. We're good. Let's just get past this. They lost. I think they're going to fucking bludgeon these dudes now. So
yeah, I think it's got to be 14. But Pacheco actually, like you said, might play, and that's always scary as well. So definitely, yeah. I don't know. That's an interesting one. I'm with you on the Bears though.
Yep. Other thing I want to talk about is I can't take the Niners in this game. The 3-point spread. You're in Lambeau. That's the thing too. Is like it's like the Niners when they were good against the Packers, where they had a quarterback running around, and Purdy just hasn't looked very mobile lately. Where it's like if it's 40 degrees, man, it's 40 degrees, and it's going to be pretty windy. Obviously, the wind doesn't affect Lambeau as much because it's like bowled up pretty high, so the wind isn't too crazy, only for the kicks. But yeah, dude, it's starting to get to winter weather. And that's when I start wanting to do it, especially now that you kind of got some dogs, bro. You got Josh Jacobs out here leading the league in rushing, receiving, at least over like the last couple of weeks. He's been awesome. So let's get to some questions here first, and then let's get to some bets. We already talked there. We'll take a look at the chat. We got Flam Fam. Don't you dare do the show without giving credit for Giannis. Hey, 40 piece, bro. A little 40 burger. I played the 50 piece and 40, so I felt good about that. I know a lot of people did the King of the Court. I don't know if you've heard of that. Yeah. I didn't even know that was a thing, but I got a lot of people in my group saying they were able to make some money off that. So I guess it's the top points, rebound, assist guy of the day, and he had like 41 points and 12 boards. So obviously I don't see anybody beating that unless it's like AD, and there wasn't any really big superstars on the slate, so he was probably obviously picked by quite a few. Our guy Coop in here talking about Bucky. You want to take a Bucky rushing yard line when most of his damage has probably been through the air. And there's a 3-headed backfield now. I mean, Tucker is very being played sparingly now, but still, he's still there. It's still in the back of your mind. Any turnover by any of these backs, they could sit the whole fucking game. You got other options. That also worries me a little.
I'm really glad you said that because I want to bring it up no matter what. I've already bet Tucker to score 1 touchdown at 7-1 and to score 2 touchdowns at 95-1 because there's a quote that really got to me a couple weeks ago that nobody really picked up on enough, and it was when they were discussing this 3-headed backfield. He was saying it was pretty much them talking about a loss, right, and going, well, it's just one of those games where we couldn't really get Tucker involved because we're losing, and he's probably likely not going to be super involved in those kind of game scripts. It was just like a little throwaway. It was just like pretty much him explaining why Tucker wasn't involved, and so that these trailing game scripts, it's going to be Rashad, it's going to be Bucky, it's going to be the pass-catching guys. And then now you get the quote everyone's talking about this week about him, revisiting all the tape and saying he needs to get Tucker a couple more touches. Man, I really love that combination of quotes from a couple of different weeks because I think it really shows that they see Tucker as like a bit of a bulldog, someone they want to get, running. They have a 7-point lead. They kind of know you're going to run the ball, so you bring your power guy in to kind of handle the dirty work. That's what I like about Tucker. He held super high volume back when we bet him in college. This is a guy that's tough. He can be a good red zone back as well. So I did bet his touchdown 700. There's no yards yet up for it, but I think he's going to be a little sneaky involved. Bucky, I don't mind, but I'm probably not going to be betting Bucky. It was one of the first guys I looked at, the 48-49. It's definitely a good number. I really don't have anything negative to say, but it's like you said, he's one of those guys that can burn you through the air as well as on the ground, just like a chain when you bet the rushing and he has that 40-yard catch and you're like, fuck, I did the wrong thing. And obviously he's going to lose Rashad pass protection snaps as well. And the final thing I said earlier, Baker chucks it when they're winning. He loves to chuck it when they're winning. So even if they're up 14-0, something like that, I don't think they're just going to spam run the ball here. I think Baker's still going to chuck it. So all that to say, I don't mind Bucky, but I'm not playing him this week. I will begin down some long shot action on Tucker, though.
Awesome. Well, let's get to it, guys. We're ready to roll. We got 4 bets for you ready to go, and I'll kick it over to you to start us off, Stu, in your game there.
Sounds good. Yeah, this one's been on the agenda. I mean, as soon as I saw these guys were playing a couple of weeks ago, Brian Robinson, 70 rush yards. I was hoping maybe the number would stay a little bit lower for longer just because the game logs don't look that great. And when people see uglier game logs, they kind of get scared and run away. But in reality, those are kind of the opportunities I'm looking for because Robinson has had a fantastic year in my books. Like the way he started, especially the way when we think of how good Washington was early, everyone automatically assigns credit to Daniels when I think that's way off board. Like the way this team was succeeding so much was they were running the hell out of the ball on early downs and setting up great one-on-one situations later where Daniels could just float a 40-yarder down the field and Terry could make a play. And sure, that's the one everyone grasps the attention for, but they were an extremely run-heavy team. And obviously Robinson being a little bit banged up, and then you face a team like the Ravens, then you face a team like the Bears, and then you get the Steelers, and then you get the Eagles, and you got Austin Eckler as your back in a lot of those games. You're not able to establish the run the same way. So while everyone is kind of assigning blame to Daniel's injury, he's not at 100%. I really think a lot of the problems this team's faced have actually come from a lack of ability to establish the run, which to me seems like very far for where the rest of the market is kind of looking at this team. And I think that gives us a great edge. Going even farther, when you look at last week, seeing the way they attacked the Eagles early on, Eagles, one of the best rush defense units in the league. Obviously, I believe they were the best last season or second. That's where they ended up. A little bit of a slow start in the first couple weeks. Fangio defense not quite clicking. They've been clicking, right? Ever since their bye week, ever since that early season little, run that they were on, they've been the best rush defense in the league, top 5 overall defense in the league. Some people, a couple Eagles guys, I'm sure would say they've been the best defense in the league since then. But still, Robinson came out 16 carries. He handled 16 of 21 total RB carries. We didn't see Jeremy McNichols until the last drive of the game when it didn't matter. So you can pretty much take out those 2 carries. Austin Eckler got 3 carries. I think that's what we can expect again. What that shows me is we are fully back to health. We are good to go. And they attacked early. He's still over 4 yards per carry on those 16, which is a good feat against the Eagles. If we're going to get that 16 carry volume against the Cowboys, sign me up 10 out of 10 times. Like, this team has been run on by everybody. We just proved it last week with Mixon, right? 20 for 103 touchdowns. Before that, Saquon, 14 for 66 was obviously the miss. They were destroying him a little bit too bad. Thankfully for us, Daniel's still kind of banged up. I don't think Washington's going to destroy him here, especially sneakily as the Cowboys defense does get a little bit healthier. I think this game, I hate to say it, when we were thinking dogs, I'd rather bet.
Yeah, no, it's huge. That spreads.
I'd rather bet the Cowboys and the Panthers. Like I'm not. I don't know if I'm going to bet it. We'll have to see what the cornerback room is looking like for the Cowboys, but I don't hate them against the spread. I think it's going to be a little slower, a little bit uglier. But even with Saquon, the 66 yards, we then saw Shipley 34. We saw Gainwell 30. They crushed it. Bijan before that went 19 for 86. Guerrero 14 for 85 after Mason went down with an injury early. And then Monty 12 for 80. Gibbs 12 for 63. And that was a game where they fucking destroyed him as well. So even in games where they're getting destroyed, right, they're still actually giving up this to starters. Really the only guy that got kind of affected by that was Saquon. And that's because it was a short week. The next week probably, maybe should have given a little bit more credit to that right there. But I don't see us running into any of those situations here. I think it's going to be a more competitive game. And I think even last week, we actually saw Brian Robinson pretty much play whatever game script both last week and earlier in the season. So I love Robinson here. It's really the first look of the week. It was the first thing that I knew I was going to be betting. And I don't see any reason why we'd stop fading the Cowboys rush defense. They are not good. There's no reason to believe they've gotten any better since last week. And even if they were good, right? You're not going to be able to do anything on offense. They can't control time of possession. They can't win that battle. So when you can't win that battle, when you can't score an offense, the other team's going to be able to run on you whether you like it or not. And if the efficiency isn't there early, the volume is going to be able to overpower it later in the game. So love Brian Robinson. And we might talk about him a little bit for long shots later as well.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We got 50 of you guys in here live with us. Hit that like button. Heading over to my team. I know you bet on yours there. I will be betting against my own team here, and that's going to be Christian McCaffrey at 110.5 rushing plus receiving yards. Dude, it's tough for me to just willingly just come up here and just kind of torch the defense that the Packers have. But they've been beat across the middle quite a bit, whether that be tight ends, those quick receivers. We saw the Packers play McCaffrey last year. I believe it was playoffs. And he had 12 targets.
Yeah.
7 catches on 12 targets and still had 17 rush attempts. That's what I'm saying. I think this is the week that we fully start seeing him get unleashed quite a bit. I guess you could say last week was because he had 24 attempts, right? 24 opportunities is what I mean, because he had 5 targets, but only capitalized on 4 of them. But would anybody be surprised here with Purdy being a little bit banged up with a couple of these guys in and out of the lineup, right? You got no IU. You're in a cold environment. Anybody be surprised to see him touch the ball 25, 30 times, right? I mean, the Packers are going to have to blitz here. They're going to need to get pressure on him, and that's where you just see McCaffrey out of the backfield. I ain't taking any one of our linebackers one-on-one with McCaffrey on a choice route. It's game over. So that's what I mean. It's just a tough spot for me to ever think that we're going to get McCaffrey to slow down against this Packers team. And we seen last week DJ Moore on those underneath routes, just straight behind the backfield. I think he had like 7 catches just on just dink and dunks. And if I have McCaffrey in the open field, and I only need him to average probably 4.5 yards a touch, I have a very hard time seeing him stay under this number in a game that's going to be cold and windy. So shorter routes, obviously, will be your friend, and I think it's going to be a Kittle CMC type of game here. So I love the game. I think it's going to be a fun one. I always like these matchups, but I think the Purdy, if he does play, not being able to be mobile, the Packers have done significantly better against quarterbacks that can't run, right? That's If you can run, you're going to cook them, right? That's like if we play Anthony Richardson, I'd probably take his 100 rushing yards, like for real. Like it's that bad. So sign me up. I love CMC this week. 110 feels pretty generous.
Yeah, no, I agree. And we always talk about you have to have that upside in both categories. Obviously, CMC was another guy. I haven't bet him yet, but I'm going to tell you on this one, and I'll probably find some other ways to bet him as well, because it's just like when you look at this team and the current version of them, especially with Kittle banged up, maybe not even playing in this game, like there's not that many options. When you got Juwan Jennings lined at 55 yards, not 17, that's bad news. I love Juwan Jennings at 17. People ask me every single week, hey, should I bet Juwan Jennings at 4.5, 5.5 catches, 50 yards? I'm like, I can't do that. He's a fine, good, well-rounded wide receiver 3 in the league. And this is a good system. He can benefit from that. But like when you look at the weapons right now, this isn't like the dynamic San Francisco team that's been sparking people in past years. So, Debo hasn't been amazing. Ayuk obviously out. Like, it's just, I don't know. I think they have to, like, no matter what this game looks like, no matter what the game script is, CMC has to be so incredibly involved. And to me, that's like kind of the ultimate thing you look for in a player prop, because so many things can go wrong. So many things can change from what you expect, but you want a guy that can be kind of involved no matter what, whether it's like getting 12 targets or whether it's getting 20 carries on the ground. So whether it's a backup or not, like I said, I'm a little concerned Purdy doesn't play. I mean, if he doesn't play, we're seeing CMC 25 carries, off the bat, not even counting the check down. So the whole first half is just going to be CMC. Let's hope you do something. And I mean, he's CMC. He normally does. So definitely like it.
And when I'm betting these higher numbers or betting against, tougher defenses, I need coaches that know what they're fucking doing. That is also something that helps me in this bet is, I mean, as much as I love LaFleur, he ain't coaching the defense, bro. Like, we got some shit dude from Boston College, bro. Like, Boston College wins 3 games a year. Christ. It's better than our old one. Better than Joe Barry's ass, but fuck.
Barely.
I mean, it's significantly better. Joe Barry was fucking atrocious. Joe Barry is pushing Mike McCarthy for his offensive job, bro. He was so bad. But we'll get it going, because I can't stay on here too long and just bitch about my Packers, because that'd be – you guys ain't trying to hear that. So I have enough fucking rants. Let's get over to your play. Number 2, Stu, with our boy James Conner.
Yep. Yeah, man. I mean – I kind of said it before where like I expected Robinson to be my favorite play of the week. And I normally don't get that like high in terms of running back numbers. In fact, even like I don't even play that many running backs before this year, but I've had a lot of success betting running backs, especially at these higher numbers. And I really like James Conner in this game. Like I really like James Conner because one, I really like this game. I think this is the game of the week, honestly, right here. I think serious playoff implications, right? Drastically affects both of these two teams' chances down the line. I mean, I think I bet the over already. I think it's going to be a high scoring game. When you look at Geno, I see a lot of sharp people on the Cardinals. They're saying, oh, the Seattle's coming off of a huge win. Obviously, this is a little bit of a letdown spot. What I see is Geno Smith against a team that can't get pressure on the quarterback. Whenever I see that, I love Geno Smith, like absolutely love. And now you got a Cardinals offense, pretty much every advanced metric, they've been cruising, especially over these last couple weeks. I see a great offensive game. Like I think after a while, I like Seattle. I will be betting Seattle as well. But I think I know my biggest bet is on the over because I think we're going to get some offense from both sides. And James Conner is really kind of the machine that makes this engine work on offense so far this year. Kyler's been good. Marvin Harrison, I mean, hasn't been the wide receiver one everyone thought he was. He's been more of a deep threat than anything. I mean, Trey McBride, what he's doing over the middle is kind of, I would say, equally, if not more important. Obviously, you need Marv to kind of, someone needs to scare the defense. Greg Dortch isn't going to do it. Zay Jones isn't going to do it, you know? So everyone is important, but I'll say it's not like the passing offense people expected. And last year we saw with Gannon. Gannon loves to run the ball. He did this out of his bye week last year as well. This is a team that a lot of people thought was going to be pass heavy last year, a little bit less this year, but they're not. They're a run first team. They're a James Conner first team. And I think the biggest reason why we're getting somewhat reasonable numbers here is because what we saw last week with him only having 12 carries for 33 yards. And then if you look in the box score, you see Trey Benson also then had 10 carries for whatever. Guys, they beat the fuck out of the Jets. Like they bullied the Jets. They didn't have to play on the last two drives of the game. And before that, I mean, what's the incentive to playing James Conner in that situation before your bye week? We complain about these coaches all the time, playing their guys in blowouts. Gannon was just like, no. Like, I don't need to do that. We have these rookies. We have DeMarcado. We have Benson. You know, we'll send these guys in. They'll get the job done, finish this game off. James Conner was not needed in that game, and I think he's actually kind of bought us like 5 or 6 yards from not having an amazing game log in that one. Although, fun fact, in all 4 games where James Conner's been under 60 rushing yards this season, the next game he's easily cleared 100. Like, he hasn't had back-to-back bad weeks all year. He's absolutely crushed. And once again, last week isn't even really a bad week. I just thought that was a little bit funny to point out. One thing that immediately popped to me right here, when you look at Seattle, you know, they're a good defense. I thought they'd be better, to be completely honest, this year. But when you look at what they're good at, it's their secondary. They have a really good secondary. They have talented corners. The defensive line's been a work in progress all year. It's been injured. They've had, you know, some problems back and forth. They're finally getting a little bit healthier. That hasn't mattered at all. When you look at these last couple games, not only have every running back crushed them on the ground, they've also done it in the air. CMC, 80 rush yards. He also had 27 through the air. Kyron Williams, 79 rush yards. He also had 26 through the air. James Cook, 111 rush yards, 22 more through the air. Finally, Bijan, 103 rush yards, 40 through the air. It's very rare that you get 4 straight games where you get a very comparable running back in usage. All those guys play very similar roles to James Conner, where they're the early down guys, but they also dominate pass catching snaps. And what I really liked to see last week, even before, especially in the first half, before the blowout, James Conner dominated routes. I believe it was 27-4-3. And DeMarcado's the third down back. He only had like 2 or 3 touches in that whole game through the air right there. So seeing even in the blowout situation, James Conner still running all those routes gave me a lot of hope. He has 3 targets in 6 straight games, which is awesome consistency for a guy like Conner. And he's shown the upside, right? He had a 50-yard receiving game and he had an 80-yard receiving game in 2 of those 6 while still maintaining consistent targets in every game. So it's what we always talk about with rushing and receiving. I need upside in both categories. I need to be able to break off a big play. He's shown that not only through the air, like I just mentioned, but on the ground. If you look at pretty much any broken tackle stats, depending on what website, it all changes a little bit. He's a lead in all of them. Right now, 2nd in the league in missed tackles forced per attempt, 3rd in the league in 10-plus yard runs and 6th in the league in yards after contact. Pretty much everything that you look for in a running back, a guy that can break tackles, can bring off these big explosive plays. He's been doing that this year. And then you get a Seattle defensive line that's allowing the 6th most yards before contact, right? So their defensive line has really not been good in the run stuffing game. It's kind of a fun combination for a running back where they get pressure on quarterbacks well. Their secondary is good, but they don't stop the run. And what does that mean? It means you're going to take the path of least resistance and you're going to run the hell out of the ball. And each of those 4 running backs that I just mentioned back-to-back weeks have been able to do that. I don't see any reason why out of a bye week they don't come out with that same strategy right here, because you don't want Kyler under pressure. You don't want him running away from pass rushers all game. You want to have James Conner early and often. So he's been efficient. I talked about that the whole time. But in a big game with such important playoff implications, I see James Conner carrying the ball 20 times here. I really don't see him missing this. I'm going to be betting more James Conner as the week goes on. Huge fan of him in this matchup. I think he has a great game.
Yeah, I mean, it could be cold out there, too. They're in Seattle. This isn't an Arizona game, so We're not in a dome, so that obviously helps out as well. Yeah, I know I'm going to get some shit on this one, but I'm going fading the Eagles again here. So I really like Stafford, bro. Like, I really like Stafford in this game. The line that I got is on FanDuel or on DraftKings right now. Obviously, if you want to be a trends guy, he's 264 in his last 5 games. Went over this number, the 238.5. 6 out of his last 10. You want to use that? Obviously, I'm not a huge trends guy, but when you have, your actual good players playing, that obviously helps out a little bit. Also, I know you talked to me a little bit about, you guys see the injury report and everything there. I saw Havenstein's probably playing, which if he plays, that's massive. I saw their guard, Levinston, got off injured reserve on Tuesday, so he could play. He has the opportunity to play. And then I saw Dotson moved in the right direction towards questionable. So that's 3 offensive linemen. If Havenstein comes back, that's massive. That is probably the biggest piece of news in this game, to be honest. But also, they didn't give up a sack last week. They played the Patriots, only 27 dropbacks. Gave up 4 against Miami, but like I said, all 3 of those dudes were out in that game. But since Stafford's had all these dudes back, he has looked like an absolute machine. Hit this number in 4 straight games. I mean, and he doesn't even need that high of volume in those games to do it because they're making big plays. Also, I think he's going to have to throw the ball all over the field, right? You're going to have to in this game. You get him in a dome. Obviously, I've only played Stafford in a dome. I never play him when he's in the elements there because I don't think it's really necessary. But when you look at the game, like they're projecting him at 35.5 attempts, right? Like that is not a small number, right? I know we're used to Stafford with the Lions when it was like 40s, right? But I mean, he's only gone over that 35.5 numbers in 2 of those 4 games he's just played, and he's still hitting this number, right? It's just the massive efficiency when you have 2 number 1 receivers on a roster, right? Also, you have these like 3rd-string tight ends that had to be the number 1 tight ends when Higbee went out. Now they're all playing, right? Now you have all these other options. You got Atwell in there that I know you're an Atwell fan. But I also don't think they're going to be able to run the freaking ball. Even with Havenstein in there, I don't think that they're going to be able to run the ball on the Eagles. I would play his attempts over. I would take his completions over. But I think this line is it's criminally too low. And we look at the Eagles, right? You just saw them. I mean, they only won by a little bit over the Jaguars in that game, right? Obviously, the Jaguars came storming back in that one. But over the last 4 weeks, I mean, their only real big win was that Bengals game. And yes, they looked great in that game. But there was no T. Higgins, right? There was no T. Higgins in that one. So now you're actually playing 2 alpha receivers. You're getting the Rams in prime time at home. I just feel like with a 2.5-point line going towards the Eagles, they deserve to be favored. Don't get me wrong. But the Cowboys, a mess, right? The Commanders, last week, you could still kind of tell that Daniels isn't fully healthy in that game. Just did not look like himself. But not taking anything away from him. That's a good win. But like I said, they just kind of ran all over him, right? They didn't even really have to do too much in that game. I don't think they're going to run all over the Rams. I think if they're going to do something, it'll be on those explosive plays because we've seen the Rams give up a lot of explosive plays That's nice for me. Give Stafford that ball back. But yeah, I think that this is one of those games where Stafford's going to put the team on his back and kind of do what he does, in that fourth quarter. It's going to be a one-possession game. Give me Stafford, bro. Give me Stafford. Give me Nakua. Give me Cooper Kupp. I'm expecting a big game out of Stafford this week.
Yeah, and I mean, you told me this one right before the show, and I was a little kind of 50-50 at first because, the Eagles, their defense obviously has been much improved, especially guys getting used to the Fangio system, a guy like Mitchell on the outside playing extremely well as a rookie. But it's kind of like what you said, they still really haven't been like fully tested in the sense that like Daniels was obviously the biggest test recently, and he really didn't throw the ball more than 10 yards down the field, So it's kind of hard to gauge, like, is that secondary still that elite? Were they scaring him away from throwing the ball 10 yards down the field? Or is it the same problem he's had over these last 4 weeks, which is probably not 100% healthy, a little bit more risk averse, doesn't want to take those, risks that could kind of put you out for the rest of the season. He's not running around. He's not escaping. He's checking the ball down. So, and also, the final score of that game was, a bit of a lie. Washington was obviously in contention to win it until they fucked it up at the end, and Saquon just did what Saquon does. So I agree. I think the biggest thing is I just don't see Kyren having any success at all. It's the perfect Kyren, like 14 for 32 in the first half, and then they're just like, fuck this, let's throw the ball. And that's what Stafford does well. He's great at getting you back into games, especially if you're down a little bit. Obviously, get a little bit of a zone going. They take you, play off coverage for just a second. He's going to punish you. I really like Cooper Kupp the more I think about it in the slot too. Cooper DeJean, get a little bit of white-on-white violence going down in the slot. I don't see that very often. I don't like DeJean at all. I really haven't since he was in college. I think he's overrated. Still, Mitchell on the outside, very, very good. I nothing bad to say about Mitchell out there. I think Puka probably sees the tougher matchup. Like the slots where we've always wanted to target the Eagles, especially now Fangio, too high safety looks. I think Kupp has a really good game. And if Kupp has a really good game, normally Stafford's having a really good game. And yeah, I just don't trust Kyren at all. So the more we kind of talked about this right before the show, and then DraftKings dropped this line like 5 yards lower than everyone else. It was like, okay, got to bet this. Definitely joining in. Love Stafford right here.
And I mean, like you look at it, like I just talked about it on my last bet. McVay, LaFleur, all these dudes that are like offensive-minded guys, I want to play guys in that offense, bro. Like they're gonna put him in so many good positions in these games, and everybody's hyping up Fangio. But let's see what happens when you go against Megamind, bro. You go up against that Megamind, spiky ass hair, bro. That boy's gonna be slicked back on Sunday Night Football, bro. Woo, I'm ready, dude. You know that. You know he's probably putting like a pound of gel in that shit. You know that. He's on national TV.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to go out there, talk to Aaron Andrews. You know that shit's slick back, bro. That ain't just messing around. He's ready, dude. So it's just crazy that you can move Nakua and Cooper Kupp. If they want to move Nakua to the slot, I've seen him run stuff out of the slot and be fine there too. It's just that's what makes it so hard, right? And then you have this little speedster that catches like 2 passes a game in Atwell that just runs across the line just to make you look at him, right? So I think this is going to be a really fun game, and I'm really excited to watch it. So one thing I will never do, I will never bet on Stafford touchdowns. You know why? Because every single time within the 5-yard line, Kyren Williams will score a touchdown. The dude is a wizard, bro. It doesn't. He could go 5 straight, like in between the 20s, if he had to get 1 yard and not get it. But when it gets to the goal line, that boy scores tutties, dude. So I can't take a Stafford touchdown because pass interference to the 1. They don't have a guy to throw a fade to. You ain't throwing a fade really to Cooper Kupp. You ain't throwing a fade. I mean, you could to Nakua, but like they're really good from 20s to 20s. That's why I only really take yards with Stafford.
Yeah, and I think that's honestly the same answer to Jason's question above of fantasy help, Dobbins or Kyren. Bullshit matchups, you got to go Kyren. Kyren still has all the touchdown upside, and he probably has the receiving game upside, which Dobbins really doesn't. So both of those are like god-awful matchups. You got the 2 toughest, arguably, in the league, but I think Kyren, it's exactly what you said. He gets every touch within the 5-yard line.
That and almost a minus 200 anytime touchdown right now. He's minus 185, right? I can't imagine Dobbins is up that high. In this matchup, Gus Edwards, you could see him come in. And they've been chucking that ball around, bro. They've been chucking that ball around, which I love to see. So, yeah, definitely would lean Kyren there for sure. But let's get a quick recap in here, Stu. I know I got to be the bearer of bad news and be the guy that got to be out of here a little earlier, but it's all good. Let's get this through. If you got any questions, drop them in now. We'll get through them, and we'll talk some long shots.
Sounds good. Like I said, favorite play of the day right here. We got James Conner over 86.5 rushing plus receiving yards, minus 115, Caesars, MGM, all the spots. I'd play it to 90. That's the ceiling for me. Then we got Brian Robinson, 70 plus rushing yards, minus 115 over on DraftKings. I'd play this one to 75.
Beautiful. I'll be playing Christian McCaffrey over 110.5 rushing and receiving at minus 110. And going over to DraftKings, they're giving you a nice little line there at 238.5 on passing yards for Matthew Stafford here today. Tyrone saying he's fading Dobbins this week. Yeah, do not mind that. He's not going to be catching too many either. So, yeah, he's got Connors in there, so that's awesome. He's going to be having Kyron and James Conner there. Stu. It's time, long shot time. What do you got for the people here today in this spot?
Yeah, this is tough. I have like 80 long shots I like this week already, which is very rare this early in the week. I don't know, I was going to go with your guy, Jaden Reed, but I'll pivot. I'll pivot off that with all the injury stuff. I'm not 100% sure. I will say I'll have some Jaden Reed receiving ladders 100% against a Niners team that struggles in the slot. What we'll do instead, I'm going to go right now. We got 8 receptions for DJ Moore at plus 525. That's what we're going to go with. You nailed it already. All of his targets were screens. The guy had a 1 ADOT last week. The whole plan with Caleb Williams, who, by the way, recorded his lowest time to throw of the season and one of the lowest.
What was the line? Sorry, what was the line?
525. 525 for 8 catches. And obviously, if you're a little bit less risky, you can get the 5.5 at plus 180, that kind of thing as well, which I like. I'll probably play the full ladder. But the one we're going to talk about, 8 right here, because we saw the upside last week. We saw the 1 ADOT. We saw the screens. We saw this new offense. The clear plan was check down, check down, check down. Let's play slow. Let's, get the ball out quickly. Let's not let Caleb Williams get destroyed by the lack of offensive line, because every team knows just blitz the hell out of him. That is the strategy here. Just fully blitz the hell out of this guy, get pressure on him, and he's going to struggle. And I think that's what's going to happen here. I think the Vikings are already a team that you do not need to encourage them to blitz. They're more than happy to send pressure at the quarterback pretty much any given time, right? They're the second highest blitz rate team in the league, and that's really a part of their core identity. So obviously, everyone in the world is going to know what's going to happen here. We have that on tape from last week. We know that they're going to be checking the ball down more, but Minnesota's fine with that. Their defensive scheme, they run the deep safeties, they blitz the hell out of you. They're asking you to dink and dunk. They say, okay, if you want to throw the ball 4 yards at a time, we're fine with that. We'll limit explosive plays. We'll get important stops when we need to. That's their style of defensive football. So to get a guy like DJ Moore, who we know can be a wide receiver 1 in general, right? This is a guy, I'm a fan of DJ Moore. He's a good football player. He's just not been in the best situation in the world. We saw a concerted effort to get him the ball last week in short yardage situations, make plays. It reminded me a lot of Terry McLaurin with all the shit quarterbacks he's had over the last couple of years. Dwayne Haskins is the one that stuck out the most, where they couldn't get him the ball down the field. So every game it was like, okay, you're getting 4 bubble screens and we got to pray you do something with it. Against the Vikings, you don't have much of a choice. They're a good defense. They force you to take those short throws, and we already saw DJ Moore do it. I see Tyrone said he's on Keenan. I think Keenan's a good look as well, obviously, but it's interesting to see that Moore was the guy that they were so specifically getting that kind of usage to last week. Keenan is good, but he's a little old. There's the big Keenan memes going around before the year. Maybe he needs a new nutritionist or something like that. He's not the guy I'm really looking for in those short explosive plays. He's more the 7-8 yard, slot guy. So I think there's going to be a concerted effort to get DJ Moore the ball. I also will be playing as 100+ yards as well, just because I think he can break one on any given time. Obviously, the Vikings are really good at limiting those kind of plays, so I think receptions is safer. But I think it's going to be a good DJ Moore game. I'm probably going to bet his baseline as well. I think he's just getting a little bit disrespected here. Caleb, they're not going to be able to run the ball, by the way. That's the other thing I wanted to bring up. They ran it really well last week. I don't see that happening here. Vikings top 3 in pretty much every advanced stat you want to look at against the run. Only 3 guys have gone over 60 yards this year, and it's taken 20 carries for each of them. I don't see Swift getting 20 here. I think it's going to be check down city. I think Moore gets a lot of them. So that was a lot of yapping right there, but I love DJ Moore, 8 catches, plus 525.
Awesome. I'm going to be doing a little fun one here, and I'm going to be going to some alphas. I'm going to 90-yard parlay, alternate receiving lines with Cooper Kupp and CeeDee Lamb. I already obviously like Cooper Kupp in this game. And with the disrespect on the passing yards line, they're giving Cooper Kupp some pretty nice long shot odds, plus 230 at 90 yards. Sign me up. CeeDee Lamb, I'm going back there. I mean, I didn't even really feel like he was that involved last week. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't really feel like he was doing much. And then you look at the box score, and it's like, holy shit, damn. He actually had a pretty good fantasy game.
I actually don't know.
Yeah, he ended up with like 8 catches.
Yeah, I would have guessed he had like 10 yards. I do not. Only thing I remember from that game is Turpin. You know what I mean? Turpin breaking
the big touchdown on there. But like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I didn't think he was that good, but he went 8 for 93.
Oh, wow.
In that game. And I didn't even feel like he was that involved in the game. Mm-hmm. Now you get to add in that he had a full practice today, fully going at it. Cooper Rush is 215 in his passing yard line this week. We saw that shit at like what, 170 before? So if we're getting 212, where else is this coming from? We got a Jake Ferguson in the hospital. Where else is he throwing the ball? If he throws the ball 30 times, would you be surprised if he had a 50% target share? I wouldn't. Like, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't have to be efficient. Don't have to look good. But for me to get CeeDee Lamb at lines that, like, when he was with Dak, this was his straight line, was literally 89 yards. Obviously, Cooper Rush is not anywhere there, but I'm getting 200, 2-1 on him to get 90 yards. Hell yeah, baby. Give me those alphas. You know they're going to these guys when it comes down to those big plays, and obviously good yards after the catch guys as well. So I think this is a good spot for two guys that have that upside. So sign me up, Cooper Kupp, CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, no, I like this. I'm feeling good about the long shots this week, honestly. Yeah, because when we were talking Stafford, I was over here just thinking, like, I want to pair Kupp with him. Like, I love that combination there. And obviously Lamb, I didn't really think about Lamb at all this week, honestly. I didn't think about any Cowboys. But, I mean, we all know Washington secondary. No Lattimore still. He's already been ruled out at this point. I mean, you can torch him. And if you're going to be trailing in this game, if you're going to be behind, I mean, it really only takes one deep shot. But like you said, he's probably going to see, 8+ targets once again because he's CeeDee Lamb. He's the only good wide receiver on this team. Obviously, no Ferguson hurts them even more. Now they got, who even is the backup? Is it Henderson?
Shoemaker or something.
Shoemaker. There we go. I think Henderson went to they had a bunch of long-name white guys in the past. I think Henderson went to the Chiefs or something.
Yeah, he's not there anymore.
Way on guard when he caught a pass last week. I was like, where's Noah Gray? This is the wrong fucking guy. But, yeah, no, like this play right here, like this combo. I'm probably going to have to toss in a couple of these, like round robin style. Just go Kupp, Lamb, Moore. I think Jaden Reed, like I mentioned as well. And while we're on it, one more long shot I want to bring up before we get out of here. It's quite simple. It's on both of the guys I already bet on. I bet each of them to score 2 touchdowns. Brian Robinson at plus 450, and I took James Conner at plus 500. You combine them both, you can get 32-1 right now over on BetMGM. Man, I think those guys dominate in the red zone today or this weekend. I really like both of them. I don't bet touchdowns at all very often. I don't love the market, especially at minus money, but seeing the 2 touchdown numbers on 2 guys that I think are going to be super involved in the red zone and games that I think is going to be high scoring, like, sign me up. Washington has a 27.5 team total. Might have moved actually to 28. Their number one weapon is injured in the red zone, right? Their quarterback. He's the number one red zone weapon. He's injured. Now we got the only good corner on the team in Diggs going to be on McLaurin. Like, it's going to be Robinson. Robinson's literally 10th in the league in red zone carries, and he's missed like 5 games this year. Like, I mean, come on. I love the Robinson one. I already talked about how much I love Conner. So just an additional long shot. If you listen this long, if you stuck with us the whole time, you get 32-1 on both of those guys to score 2 touchdowns.
Beautiful. Love it. Love it. What do you got for the people? Tyrone, obviously talking. We'll get to it right now. Talk to me, Stu. What else you got for the people before we head out? We got to get out of here.
Yeah, no, I mean, make sure to follow over on, I have my Discord for the people that don't know that I also give plays in the 4for4 Discord. You can sign up for that. Get all of my plays over at 4for4. I haven't promoted that in a while. Code TONE gets you 25% off. I just made a Blue Sky, the fake Twitter. If you want to follow me over there, Monotone Football, whatever, check me out over there. And Instagram, I started posting a little bit more Monotone Football as well. So, hey, thanks for the little prompt right there. But Twitter is really what everything flows through. That's where you want to stay if you want to be connected to everything. But do check out the 4for4. We got some bangers this week. Already started 3-1 yesterday. Looking to continue that today.
Yeah, for me, it's just really here. YouTube, obviously, if you're here, you obviously see us on YouTube. I post stuff every day. My play of the day just kicked off about 8 minutes ago. So that's going right now, really heavy into college basketball right now. So obviously that's taken a lot of my time. But I'm on there, and then I'm obviously posting on Action as well, trying to keep up with that and keep posting over there, grow the following over there as well. So thank you. Hopefully you guys got something out of the stream today. If anything, we just want you guys to be better. So if you guys are able to hit that like button, we really appreciate that. If you got any questions, drop them in the chat. And we usually get to everything. Usually, if you drop something in there, we'll get to answer any of those questions. Fantasy, year long, DFS, anything. We're in there. We're in the weeds. We're ready to go. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll talk to you guys on Monday for hopefully recapping this with some winners here and ready to go. So thank you guys, and best of luck this weekend.